Hello, I'm going to be doing a critique of the All Nations Party. Here it says that Paul Koijemans has an article, and it says that long ago the Germanic people, well, the Europeans, who used to have high intelligence due to a cold climate, founded civilization. Eventually, they decayed and now have higher verbal ability, and their nonverbal ability in recent years, in the 20th century, has decayed, and that this is demonstrated by the decay of Western art and architecture. Quote, characteristic for the dysgenic phase are high verbal ability, which facilitates deceit and relativistic philosophizing, decreasing visual-spatial, and somewhat later decreasing numerical ability, and therewith decreasing general intelligence, and a highly cultured, sophisticated, permissive, decadent-degenerative nature on the whole. Western civilization, the product of the Germanic peoples, has probably entered this phase in the second half of the 20th century. A pivotal point that precedes the steepest decline is probably the abolishment of the death penalty and corporal punishment. And for those who don't know, in Taiwan or in some East Asian countries, they still have the death penalty. Now, I'll return to the quote. The decline of visual-spatial ability is illustrated magnificently through the unintendedly by the unmistakable deterioration of architecture and visual art in the Western world over the 20th century and later. Quote, dequote. Racism has probably taken the form of heretic. So racism is probably just the heretic that has evolved through these conditions. It's probably not some agenda through a state institution that's unnatural. Because of this dysgenic phase of Western civilization, this primarily seems to be a natural occurrence. Quote, minimal level where high universal ethics and globalism make an advanced technological civilization top-heavy and modal intelligence goes in remission through dysgenic effects. Quote, unquote. And that is the IQ of 100. And that's the current IQ of Western society. And so what I'm saying is that this is a natural thing. This whole racism as a heretic. I mean, it's just an adaptation to the civilization which is now enduring these non-tribalistic ethics. So these high universal ethics, which is basically people are more interested in, not racial things, but more, humanity and humanity's goals, and all of these things are more, people have innate tendencies to believe or to support these things. And so it seems pretty unlikely that, in history, that a level from the, apart from the top level, that any change has been made. Like, if you look at, small groups of people who had differing views in history, I mean, maybe the Lutherans, but I don't think there's a significant reason that, I mean, how many people are white nationalists? Probably like 1 out of 100 or less than that. I mean, how is this going to take form? I mean, if there is a collapse in the United States, not a sudden collapse, but I mean, like, if the United States turns into a less advanced country, kind of like a third world country, like, let's say 50 years and the United States isn't doing so well. If that happens, I mean, why do you think people are going to be interested in white nationalism? I mean, Noam Chomsky has said that, I think he says that, what he says is that racism will increase in like 30 years or 40 years. He says that racism, what he calls racism, will increase. He also says that whites will become a minority in the United States. And so what I'm interested in is how this racism as heretics, how this is actually natural. And so if this is natural, I think that you're kind of going on a limb saying that you can change it. I mean, throughout history, when has this small group, and you say these these archetypes like white nationalist or communist, these archetypes that you've described are natural. And if they are natural, well then how are you gonna convince people or convince the state of the United States to let people or let certain types of archetypes or people like white nationalists have their own state? How are you gonna convince that? Because it seems right now that the natural tendency of people is to unite, is to have these high universal ethics, and that this is really a natural representation of the current Western civilization. And so I'm not sure if this is really a attainable goal for you right now, or for anyone who wants to achieve this. I don't think this is very achievable due to the current conditions of Western civilization. It doesn't seem that this is even possible. I mean, maybe if you wait like 50 years, it could be possible. But right now, there's too much evidence suggesting that this is near impossible to achieve this All Nations Party. And so, unless there's further reason for how or why this could work, I sincerely doubt it. Furthermore, I'm going to quote Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky says in his Iran video, part 1, he says that basically what he says that is in 50 years or less, whites will become a minority in the United States. Quote, "This is buttressed by the fact that the white working class has really taken it in the chin for 30 to 40 years. The Democrats have pretty much abandoned the white working class, and they're bitter. And they also said it correctly, that they are losing their country, their jobs, and their lives. But it's not going to be a white country in 50 years, maybe less." Unquote. And so, if Noam Chomsky, a famous scholar, believes that in 50 years, or maybe less, as he says, it won't be a white country anymore, which is precisely what he says, then why do you believe that white nationalism will could even gain ground? If it's decreasing, in 50 years, if it's not going to be even a white country, who's going to listen? Who's going to listen? Is the United States going to listen to the calls of less than their, dominant population? Like, are they going to try to keep the peace and separate? I mean, there's no evidence that the trend that this is possible, and that the trend is that they're decreasing in population and influence in the United States.